Hi everyone, I'm Tom and today I'm going to be showing you Defection, which is a game of space exploration, picking up and delivering of goods, and fighting of spacey craft. It's on Kickstarter right now. The link to the campaign page will be in the corner of the screen or in the description. And as always, I'll make clear that I was paid to make this overview video. So what's going on in the game? A war has broken out, a spacey intergalactic war. And we have decided to break away from that war because there might be a bit of cash in it for us, but mainly we are trying to save the civilians. All of these civilians are on Kelleressa, the starting planet, and of course, as good, noble people, we will be trying to save them. We'll also be exploring new planets, completing contracts, and getting various upgrades through crew members, different ships, and upgrade tokens. So we play the game over 8 years, and the round tracker here shows us where we get new news cards and whether we're going to have planet or bounty income. It alternates. And little PS, apologies for this all being so far out and me awkwardly showing components. My left arm's in a sling at the moment and I'm left-handed, so it's up to old righty to struggle to rise to the challenge. So we would move the round tracker. Obviously in the first round you wouldn't do that, but in future rounds you're going to get income based on the things that you've done. So planet income concerns the planets. As we discover these, they will get flipped over, and the dominating player, which is the player that has sent the most civilians there, has rescued the most civilians, and taken them, in this case, to Senra, will get the income for that planet. In this case, you'd get yourself a loot card, which can be little instants like a wormhole, play to move directly to any wormhole location. They will be out in space as we discover them, and you can play them to avoid taking damage, or there are take that ones if you want to play with some extra interaction, or you can remove them if not, where you can play them to steal resources from other players and things like that. Now, bounty income is based on the number of bounties that you have beaten, and we'll get to these in a little bit, but these are spaceships that you can encounter and battle, and they will give you income the more of those that you've defeated when they come around. So next up, we would reveal a news card. In the first round of the game, it's always going to be War Begins, because, you know, that's obviously what's on everyone's mind right now, and it will give you a legend point for discovering a colony planet. You know, these are the colony planets around the outside of the galaxy, so at the start of the game, it's encouraging you to go out and start flipping things and discovering what's on them. And later on, it's random cards, so it could be something like Deadly Force, where anti-aircraft guns have been put on Kelleressa, and we will take a damage when we leave there that's unavoidable. So it's like an event that will affect everybody that's going to happen for the round. There can be 2 active at a time, and they slide out. So, you know, in year 2, we will have 2. In year 3, year 1s will slide out, and we'll have 2 fresh ones. So it'll be a surprise when they first come out, but then you have got a round to prepare for them still being in effect. And then we take our turns. The first thing that happens is we move the moon around Kelleressa. It moves clockwise, and it starts here and moves to this space, and in the future this space, then it jumps all the way around and just keeps going round and round on our turns. If there are people or tokens on the moon, they do move with it, and its location might make a difference to where you want to go. Then we can perform some actions. There are free actions and there are time actions. We have 4 time to achieve our actions, but later on we can unlock an extra time. So for free, we can pick up or drop off civilians. The civilians are represented by the cubes on our player boards, because we want to save as many civilians as possible. We're going to be punished at the end of the game for every civilian that we didn't save or that got lost along the way. You pick up civilians from Kelleressa, but later on in the game, when they have been delivered around the galaxy, you can pick them up from other planets. And you might want to do that because, you know, the dominating player gets the bonus. Well, if somebody is really, really dominating a planet, you might want to take your civilians somewhere else to try and get the bonus there instead. Especially if it's a shorter distance to another planet than going back all the way back to Kelleressa. You can only pick up your own civilians, and you are also limited by the capacity that is on your ship. Everyone starts off with a Zodiac and has 4 capacity for passengers, you can see in the corner there. We can also buy and sell cargo, and it's a similar thing. You can buy it from Kelleressa, and in that case it will come from the supply here. It costs a credit each. And later on, if you want to, you can buy it from the colony tiles for a similar reason. You know, if you find the price is really low here and they're buying for a lot here, then it's just good economics, isn't it? Again, at the start, you're limited to your storage, which is for the same 4 spaces as for your people. So you have to decide, do you want to go out and make a load of money, or do you want to start saving the civilians right away? Or probably a balance between them. Now, for selling the cargo, you have to travel to a planet, of course. That's where you sell them. Calaressa isn't interested in getting any more. It's got tons of its own. But this is, a limited economy. When this runs out, you can't just buy it from there anymore. Although I'm sure you will discover cargo as you explore the unknown galaxy. But when you sell cargo to the planets, you take the cubes and start at the bottom of this track down here. So your first couple of cubes there are going to earn you 5 and then 4 money, respectively. And you can see less and less money as you go up that track. Now that's also the purchase price. So later on, when you're thinking about buying it from planets and selling it to planets that want more money, you can look for a planet that's quite full because supply and demand, the cargo is going to be quite cheap there. Still talking with my hands, even though this one's locked in. And also, this matters for points at the end of the game. You can see the legend points on the planet here are given to the dominating player, and they are based on the amount of cargo that is on the planet. So if you're really sure that you're going to be in charge of this planet at the end of the game, you kind of want it to be stocked up on stuff because, if there's not much cargo here, it's just worth 3 points. In the middle here, it's 5. So in this example, it would be 5 points at the end of the game. But if you can fill the planet up here, it would be worth 7 legend points at the end. You can buy and sell scrap metal. You have to be on a colony planet, and it says how much it is. On Senra here, it costs you 3 credits. You can buy and sell as much as you want, and it's all a free action. And you can pay to deploy your planetary defenses. These guns here, you can pay 1 or 2 scrap metal to deploy them to a planet to prevent other players from moving to them as easily, because they have to fight those defenses before they can do the normal things on the planet. So your normal actions that cost a time each, you can drift for 1 time, which just moves you 1 space no matter what. Every time you move, you flip over the tile that you moved. So if it was my turn, let's say I was going to move over to this space, even if I am going to move further than this, I flip the tile over and see what it reveals. Now this actually is one of the few permanent tiles. Space is always shifting. There's no fixed points in space. And a lot of the things in the game, when you move off them, when they're done with, they go away and new tiles will come out. This is actually a cosmic rift. There is another cosmic rift tile in the game. You can move between them as if they were adjacent, but you take a damage for going through it. So as well as drifting, which is always just 1 space, you can do a full speed move. Now full speed gives you a movement for every movement that you have on your player board. So your starting ship, the Zodiac, has 2 on there in the corner. And you can get more later on from crew, from upgrading your ship. You can see there's a yellow upgrade token that would give you an extra permanent speed. So full speed, all that way. At the moment, that would just get me 2, but maybe it's worth doing if I want to get over to Senra and sell some stuff. And let's have a look at some more tiles. So I would travel onto here and flip it over to see what's happening here. And we have found a wormhole. Now, this shows us it's got 2 spaces, so we'd want 2 white cubes on there. And similarly to the Cosmic Rift, actually, when there is another wormhole out there, you can travel between them for free by taking a cube off here. Don't take any damage or anything because this is a professional wormhole. And once it runs out of cubes, it will become inactive. So I could, with a full move, completely unimpeded, I haven't found any ships that want to shoot me or anything like that, I could end up in Senra. There is also use crystal as a movement. You have 2 opportunities to do this throughout the game. It gives you 1 movement point plus your full speed movement points, but you only activate the tile that you end up on. You can't use your crystal, though, to move to a planet that's got defenses on it. You can repair your ship for a time. You can remove 1 damage from your ship. You can interact, so Senra's icon here tells me that I can interact and take a market action, so it's 1 time to do an interact. There'll also be other tiles coming out that you can interact with, and you can interact with the cube to fulfill contracts or trade in loot or scrap metal for legend points. Speaking of the market, this is how we get all of our fancy new stuff. We have crew members. We have 2 of each type on display that will give us all sorts of different powers. We do start off with a sea droid. Now mine is Zara over here. that has a pilot skill, which lets her reroll some skill checks. She's got 2 health and she gives me no hand symbols. Getting 5 hand symbols is how you unlock your 5th time per turn. And you can buy any of the available crew out here with money, and they give you different skills, usually relating to combat. So the pilot skill, which my starting one does have, helps you avoid taking damage. The mechanic skill helps you try and repair. The machine gun skill here helps you do more damage to ships. Now you can have 2 crew, but you have to unlock your extra seat by paying 2 money and a scrap metal, and then that takes this away and reveals the extra space. You can also buy a new ship. You can only have 1 at a time, so you are replacing your existing one, but they can take you in different directions. The Merlet has a much bigger capacity, but isn't any faster, and only has slightly more defense, has 4 compared to your starting 3. The Lapwing moves a little bit faster, has a bit of a smaller capacity, but does include rockets on it to help you with fighting. And the Sumatran doesn't improve your speed or capacity or defense at all, but has lots of different attacking abilities. And finally, you have upgrades, which go in this track on your player board. So you can either put an upgrade in the next available slot, or you can replace an existing upgrade. The space shows you how much each one costs. So it starts at 1, 3, 3, 4, and then to get to the next section, you need to pay a scrap metal to get into the purple, and then another one to get into the yellow. So they're the order that you will do your upgrades in. And there can be combat-related things like the rockets, or the purple cube here gives you an extra cargo hold, so people can't go in there, but an extra space for cargo cubes. Or the green gas converter, when you find a green gas pocket in space, you can absorb that gas to get an extra movement point. Same for purple gas. And you can even get rerolls, extra shields, or a permanent extra speed once you get into the yellow upgrades. But they do get expensive, and if you do manage to complete your entire upgrade track, you get 3 extra legend points for doing it. So if we just took an example right from the start of the turn, I could have started here and decided, I've got 4 capacity, I am going to take 2 cargo, that would cost me 2. I'm going to take 2 people, and that doesn't cost me anything. I have to be in Calaressa to do that, and then I spend time. They were both free actions. I spent a time to drift, and then I spent a time for a free move and moved all the way here. It's free action to drop off the cargo and the passengers. And so I am now the dominating player. I'm the only person that has got passengers on this planet. So I am going to get the bonus when planet income happens. And I keep the planetary bonus over Senra on my player board. This one in particular gives me 2 extra money whenever I complete a contract. The contracts, by the way, have requirements and costs. So you can see this one here has a requirement of a pilot skill and 4 shields, and costs me a loot card. So I would need to get myself an extra pilot token from somewhere, maybe from Morai, if I unlock my extra pilot seat. And I would need to increase my shield somehow, maybe by getting a new ship, maybe by getting that yellow upgrade. Once I've done all that, I'll be able to fulfill it. And in the cube's case, this is all the way along, so I would get 7 money and a legend point for doing that. And then the contract would slide along and we'd get some new ones. So after you've finished spending all of your time, the last thing you do on your turn is refresh tiles. Now, everything that is used up, so let's just say, for example, we'd removed all of the white cubes from this wormhole, all of the tiles tell you what to replace them with. Now, obviously, this one won't because it's going to be there for the whole game, but this says replace it with a red tile. And there are white and red tiles. So we'd replace it with a new one from the stack, and so constantly over the game, you can never be quite sure what you are going to encounter. Now, in Year 7, we flip this around and everything changes. Calaressa gets destroyed, spoilers, and we flip it over to its destroyed side. You can't go there anymore. There's no more news because we've got no signal. We've got no contact with Calaressa anymore. If they haven't already been brought out, there's 2 more planets that get put here and here. All of the civilians still on your population track get moved to your graveyard, and you lose a legend point for every 3 people that died, and the contracts get refreshed from the cube. There's then 2 more rounds, Year 7 and 8, but without the news cards and ability to go to Calaressa. You get points at the end for everything that you earned, as well as dominating planets. Remember, that's based on how much cargo is in there. So the domination track, you get 3 points for every trading route you've made, like the triangles in between the planets. There's 6 available, and you don't have to be dominating them at the end of the game. You just have to have dominated them at some point to unlock the token for each planet. You get points for bounties that you've completed, so ships that you've fought. You get points for certain upgrades that you've gotten. 3 legend if you have filled the whole track. You get points for every honor token on your player board, including your own, 2 legend for those. You lose points for the civilians that died, and your credits aren't worth points, each, but the person with the most credits gains 2 points. The person with the most legend wins. So that's broadly what's going on, but we've missed one key part, haven't we? We haven't talked about anything to do with combat yet, but I thought we want to get a closer view of how combat works. It all starts by finding an encounter in space. When this happens, you draw 1 or 2 cards from the encounter deck. You have to draw 1, and they're going to be things to fight. So I am going to be fighting, in this example, the Tar Scout. Now, I can always choose to flee from an encounter, but it's going to cost me a legend to do so, a point. So another player would take the role of the enemy ship for the battle. But let's look at my stuff. So first of all, we roll our combat dice. Now, this is determined by the number of hands that you have. So I've bought some crew and given myself a couple of upgrades in this example. So I've got myself 2, 4, 5 hands. So that's going to be 5 dice. So you roll your dice, and everything that matches a symbol can be assigned to that action. So what have I got here? I've got some machine guns, I've got some rockets. So I do know that I've got rockets there, I've got machine guns there, and I've got repair there. Now, I haven't got a reroll token. If I did have 2 crew that were the same color, then that would give me a reroll, but I didn't do that. And you can assign them to targeting systems as well that I haven't got here. But a targeting system, you basically defer your roll. You don't like this one, you can re-roll it a bit later. So this one's got nowhere to go, unfortunately. The enemy at the same time would be rolling their 3 dice. So let's roll these in space. Hopefully miss this planet. They've been quite lucky with that roll. They've rolled nothing, and a rocket. So that's going to go on. You can see their card has got abilities on it. So 1 for a rocket twice, and then this one here would need the leader and machine gun symbols to be rolled, and then they would do some extra nastiness, but they've just rolled that. And so let's look at my abilities. Now, missiles here do the damage shown. Now, it's just a green upgrade. That's 1 straight damage to the opponent. Machine guns, in the same way, do their damage printed, so I've got 1, 2, 3 damage right there. Now, I didn't roll a pilot, unfortunately. The pilot activation lets you roll the skill die, and my crew here both want a 4 or more. So I would roll the crew die, and if I got a 4 or more, I would get to avoid a damage for each of those pilot skills. Unfortunately, I didn't roll that symbol. And then we inform each other of the damage that we are doing. So the enemy is doing a damage to me. Luckily, I have a combat shield here, and instead of taking the damage straight to my ship and getting towards my 3 health limit, so I could assign that to my combat shield instead. And I can inform the Tar Scout that I'm doing 1, 2, 3 damage, which is its health, which will blow it up into space, and I will get my reward, a loot card, and this goes under my player board as a bounty. At the end of the game, I'm going to get 2 credits and a legend for every bounty under my player board. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, though, because we still have repairing, so in a similar way to that pilot thing, it's a skill check. I have activated it with a die, so I get to roll the skill check die, and I want 4 or more to repair a damage. I got 5, so I can repair that damage, and it's 1 for every repair symbol that I would have. And I would do a skill check for every repair symbol that I was activating. If I hadn't destroyed the ship, I could now pay a legend to flee if I'd realised it was more than a match for me, or it had done a ton of damage in the first round. Maybe now is the time to cut my losses and get out. But if one player's ship has been destroyed, then there is a winner. If we both got destroyed, I wouldn't get the reward for it. The damage that you take to your combat shield is removed anyway, but for the purpose of this example, let's call that a repair win. Now, there are many other effects that the enemy can do to you, from just standard ship damage to damage to your crew, kill civilians, discard your credits, destroy your cargo, toxic rounds that mean every time they hit your hull, they also hit your crew, loads of different effects. You can also play, if you'd like to, with player versus player combat. And this works in a similar way, except you don't have the option to just flee by losing a point. You can negotiate with the player that's attacking you. They have to be in your space and not be, on the starting planet or the cube or the moon. You have to be out in space and not on a planet. You can negotiate credits, cargo, loot cards, any of that kind of stuff to try and stop the attack. But if not, you have the battle just the same, except you're both using your normal abilities. And the winner of the fight doesn't get a bounty, but they get all of the honor tokens from their opponent. Remember, these are 2 legends at the end of the game each. So it could be a strategy to just wait around while one person goes fighting everybody, and then just fight them at the very end and get all of the honor from them. So there, I think we have Defection. I hope this has given you a good idea of what to expect from the game, and if it's piqued your interest, remember the campaign page is in the description. The Kickstarter is running now, and your support can make it happen. There are hundreds of other playthroughs on the channel if you would be interested in seeing some more. It's a very different game, but while we're on the space theme, Pulsar 2849 is a fantastic Euro game. If you'd like to help out the channel, spreading the word is always fantastic. And if you would like to, you could become a patron. That's linked in the description as well. But thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.